The global inflation nightmare that you've been warned about is here. Are we heading into the worst inflation in 40 years? Possibly. Since the COVID pandemic, we have witnessed the greatest monetary binge in world history. You know, when the value of money is tied to what? Nothing. All they do is print more money. It's always such a tempting solution for those in power. Absolutely. I'm not one of these inflation freaks that's saying we're off the cliff yet, but the risk factors are there. We need to look at the triggers. What's going on right now, and I think one thing you look at is the stimulus bills, the 2.2 trillion, and now the 1.9 trillion this week, and gives me pause. The business leaders love this bill. They polled the masses. They love the bill. So, hey, the business leaders love the bill. The masses love the bill. It's obviously the right thing to do. But when we look at world history, how often have business leaders been wrong? Many times. So this is very worrisome. I think stimulus is good. Absolutely 100%. It's just the amount of stimulus. It's too risky, in my opinion. This sets us up for inflation. We will either have inflation or a collision between fiscal and monetary policy to contain the inflation. I think there's some external contradictions too. The economy with a 3% GDP gap getting 9% GDP fiscal stimulus. Think about that. The economy with a net private savings rate of 7 to 8%, dealing with 18% GDP budget deficit. Really? I mean, that's unbelievable. Yes, the fundamentals and the public investments we need to make. Yes, we need relief for COVID. Yes, we have inequality issues. But I think this is just a huge scale of bad fundamentals, and we got 3 points. $2 trillion savings overhang, 14% GDP, $2.8 trillion of fiscal stimulus. The Fed with its foot on the gas. Mr. Powell said we're not letting up, we're just gonna keep on printing. I think some of it's got to do with the micromechanics of the financial markets, but also the broader environment. And here's a quote from Jerome Powell. He said, hey, don't worry about it. It's a role in the confidence of the future of the economy. Absolutely. Well, Mr. Powell, tech stocks went down. Does that sound like a vote of confidence in the future economy? Commodity prices went up. Does that sound like a role in the future economy, Mr. Powell? And credit spreads widened. Does that sound like a vote of confidence, Mr. Powell? So on risk analysis grounds, we should not be dismissive of possible inflation. Risk of an overheat in the economy is there. So on risk analysis grounds, we should not be dismissive of possible inflation. Look at the past. That always predicts the future a little bit. Past inflation went from 2% in 1966 to 6% in 1969, even before there were any supply chain shocks. So are we on a stimulus high? We just keep mainlining it, sugar high, keep popping the sugar pills? Possibly within a year, we'll see the most serious inflation problem that we've faced in over 40 years. When you look at the risk, inflation, financial bubbles, economic overheating, excessive euphoria in the markets, I think the risk is greater than deflation. I did a video a while back. We talked about deflation a little bit. We didn't think the COVID crisis was going to be going on this long. We didn't see these massive spending bills that they're spending. The $1.9 trillion stimulus bill, 10% is only going for COVID. It's a massive bailout. So when we talk about COVID, it's classic wartime inflation pressure, 100%. Supply chains 1 year from now, more secure in some areas, more wrecked in others. So I think you could just analyze when you look at food prices and commodities and some other examples here to get a more broader perspective on what's going on. Because, global food prices are going up. The timing couldn't be worse. Just some examples. In Indonesia, tofu 30% more expensive than it was in December. In Brazil, the prices of local mainstream turtle beans is up 54% compared to last January. And in Russia, consumers are paying 61% more for sugar than a year ago. And Albert Edwards has pointed out annual inflation in cereals has hit 20%, which represents the highest annual since mid-2011 when the Arab Spring was in full flow. So if prices continue to rise like this, it's just a matter of time before we'll see widespread food riots all over the globe. I'm not going there yet. but the third world countries are getting decimated right now. It's terrible. So, you know, let's talk about the UN World Food Program has publicly stated there will be famine of biblical proportions in 2021. But here in the United States, many people don't take that warning like that seriously, because we still have plenty of food in the stores, of course. So far, food inflation in this country has not been overly dramatic, but we are seeing crazy inflation shows up in other ways. So look at these other ways. This just gives you an idea. This is typical America. This is stuff we look at. Luka Doncic rookie card. He's a basketball player. I never heard of him. His rookie card just sold for $4.6 million. $4.6 million, the most expensive basketball card ever sold, is a signed Luka Doncic rookie featuring the NBA pitchman in a game-worn Dallas Mavericks jersey. Collector Nick Fogolo bought the one-for-one card on February 28th. I mean, really? Okay. Here's another one. This is interesting. I'm sure you probably didn't hear this. In October 2020, Miami-based art collector Pablo Rodriguez spent almost $67,000 on a 10-second video artwork that could be watched online for free. Now, the video was by a digital artist, Beeple. It was authenticated by blockchain, okay? And then it was bought again. Why in the world would anyone spend more than $6 million for a video clip that can be watched for free online? So it doesn't make any rational sense at all. That's what happens in a highly inflammatory environment. All the money, you know, that's just being created out of thin air. A lot of people got money that didn't deserve it. You know, so let's look at Bitcoin. When you look at Bitcoin, it was just under 30,000, and now it's sitting at 49.50. You know, I've done a little investing in Bitcoin and the cryptos, and they're extremely high prices, extremely volatile. But here's the key, and I read this very early on. At any time, governments around the world can decide to crack down on them. And New York Attorney General Loretta James gave us another reminder of the fact on Monday. New York Attorney General Loretta James sent a blistering warning to investors and industry members about the dangers of cryptocurrencies on Monday. We're sending a clear message to the entire industry that either you play by the rules or we'll shut you down. We'll shut you down. As conditions in this country continue to deteriorate, eventually there will be high shift in demand. So that gives me some heartburn. I know the feds, and I can tell you this, I know for a fact, they're monitoring the digital currency. Who knows what they're gonna do? They could start their own, shut all this off. I think you gotta play. I always said less than 1% of your net worth. I'm going 0.5 of my net worth I have in crypto, and I put it in an ETF a while ago. But that makes me nervous. So when you look at that rookie card, when you look at artwork, and there's people selling their artwork, and just crazy stuff's in the market with inflation, you look at it from that perspective, it's interesting. So I think there's going to be massive inflation. I just don't think there's no way around it. And you look at it by reading articles like this, you look at it in the real estate sector, you follow the stock market. We just can't continue like this. So I'm hopeful, but read, be careful, and I think this is a massive problem with the amount of spending we're doing in stimulus bills, and Mr. Powell said the foot's going to be on the gas. So I'm here in Mexico right now. We're checking out property. We own a property management business down here, and we manage our own properties, and we have a couple development deals we're going to be looking at this week. We're going to Tulum and Playa del Carmen, and going to be meeting with some developers and other real estate professionals. We're involved in a couple developments down here, so there'll be more to come on that. Hope you enjoyed the video on inflation. Take care and be safe.